G'day folks, I've got Fluxa in the studio and we're going to talk about your upcoming EP.
Hey, so good to be here, Ben.
I've heard some of this music and you would call it dance music or electronic?
Yeah, I mean, some parts of it you can definitely bounce along to, but I guess it's more like downbeat electronica, like dreamy chillwave.
Excellent.
It's a bit of a mishmash of like a lot of different genres.
Yeah, I was trying to think in my vocabulary of words to describe the audio experience because it is really rich and lush. Yeah, it's just a sonic experience, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah. And so you've DJ'd in other guises.
Yeah, so I've worked as a DJ, although I don't really like to refer to myself as a DJ.
Okay.
I kind of only have done that because I've been put in situations where I've voluntarily said yes to things.
Okay.
But I prefer, I'm an artist and I'm a creative, and I guess, DJing's fun, but I like being in the studio and writing and composing more than I do pushing buttons and things.
The one show I've seen you do, I've forgotten the name of the collaboration, the one in Coffs Harbour, that festival.
Storyland.
Yeah. That was a really cool venue with that particular tent was really going off when you were playing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is fun. I wasn't actually playing my own music. But yeah, no, I love dancing and performing and partying. So, any chance to get on a stage, I'll jump up. But I guess this project is allowing me to kind of express something a little bit different that people haven't seen before, which is kind of more of an internal journey.
Yeah. I was thinking of, what's that SMR thing? What's that thing that people
ASMR.
ASMR, yeah.
Oh,
That sort of reminded me of that. Well, because you just imagine with the headphones on, some of the quietness of it. I haven't got the vocabulary to describe the sounds, you'd have to listen to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I actually did study sound design in radio production when I was at uni, and I created soundscapes for radio documentaries.
Oh, wow.
So I love sound effects and sampling all different kinds of sounds. Yeah, the actual sound design in the EP was the most interesting and fun part for me. So I'm really happy that you were aware of that because there's lots of very interesting textural sounds that I used.
Yes. That's interesting that you say that because some of those soundscapes in sort of a documentary, sometimes I've listened to them and really noticed that someone's put a whole lot of work into it, and it complements the intellectual sort of side of that conversation, and then the soundscape somehow is a good counterpoint to the...
Like bringing it more into like a visceral experience for the viewer.
Experiential. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
And so with this music here, this EP, and what's the name of it?
It's called Sonder.
Okay. And there's 4 tracks. So this electronica that you're working on now, it's still danceable, yeah?
Yeah, definitely with the remix versions of the tracks.
Yeah.
Which are going to be coming out hopefully within the next 2 months. So we've got a producer from London doing a House Garage remix, and there's a couple of others that are on the go as well, and that definitely would work at like a dance festival.
Oh, I see. And so when someone does a remix, you know their work and you can trust them with your work.
Well, it's funny you asked that because this is the first time that I've actually experienced a remix collaboration, and I was quite nervous because you are handing over your precious work and you just don't know what they're going to do with them. And you don't know if you're going to like the vibe of the song. I'm very specific about the kinds of music that I like. So I was almost not going to go ahead with the remixes because of that reason. And then I thought, you know what, if I write up a contract that says, is it possible for me to have the last say on the final edit and have some creative input into the track if I feel like it could be improved. And I'm just really blessed that the producers that are doing the remixes agreed to that.
Yeah, so you'll have a final yay or nay when you look at it.
But I've already heard a little sneak preview of one of the remixes and it's really amazing and I'm really happy with it. So that was really cool.
Awesome. I suppose you want to give them some creative license to make something and sort of surprise you to some degree and come up with something. Yeah.
And it was really an incredible feeling to just hear this song but reinterpreted in such a fresh, beautiful way. And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Oh, fantastic.
I almost like it better than the original.
Well, you can't say that. So how long have you had these 4 songs with you? Have you been working on them for a while, or how long have you had your studio?
So it's really interesting. I think the reason why I've never had a chance to release anything under my own name, we were discussing this before. I've worked with a lot of producers in the past that didn't really give me much leeway with the creative control, and I was never really satisfied with the end product. And I've been living all over the place most of my life, just hopping from one city to another, one country to another. But I decided to make a sea change and move up to the mid-north coast from Melbourne about 4 years ago. And I set up a little studio that I call the Lady Cave in my backyard. And it's been the first time that I've really been in the one place for longer than a couple of years. So yeah, Opia is a song that I wrote not long after arriving in the valley. Klexos and Yugen, they're also tracks that I wrote 2 years ago, but they were never really finished in entirety. So I decided to bring in another amazing Mid-North Coast producer / musician, Nick Gilchrist. His stage name is Phortah. And yeah, he was amazing. He came in and, you know, he's a great producer and we've got a similar taste in music and a similar way of working. And he was just really good at helping me tie up those loose ends and getting the track sounding just like finished and
Fantastic.
polished.
So it's good to have another pair of ears to help just say, yeah, it's done, wrap it up and get it just ready.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then it was funny, we ended up writing a brand new track in the process.
I see.
That's Excess, which happens to be a lot of people's favourite track of the EP. And that just happened randomly one day, just like this magic puff of inspiration. So
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you start with a beat or a lyric or a bit of keyboard, or how do things evolve usually?
So I normally start with the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know how it happens, but basically I'll be sitting on that instrumental for like months, even years sometimes, and then all of a sudden the song just arrives, like the lyrics and the words, they just arrive. And all of those songs, basically that's the first take that I did of them.
Wow.
And that's why the vocal recordings on the EP aren't that amazing. They could have been better, but I decided, you know, there was something kind of magical about the fact that it was just happened in one take, and I just didn't know if I'd be able to repeat it.
Yeah, right. So you just go with the take that did the job and it made the song. Have you had songs before without a vocal or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Klexos was actually going to be an instrumental track.
Okay.
Because, you know, nothing was coming through in terms of like lyrics or melody. And I actually had this Middle Eastern sounding oud playing a melody throughout the song instead of vocals. And then I broke up with my Egyptian boyfriend and decided I needed to delete that instrument off the track.
Oh, I see. Right.
Because I was just like not wanting to hear anything that reminded me of the Middle East.
Right. Move along.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, sometimes, you know, there'll be a particular instrument that'll be in that place of the lyric then. So if there is a sort of melodic little hook somewhere, then maybe the vocal's not as required then.
Yeah, I just think it depends. If you've got a story that you want to tell that's ready to come out and there's a nice beat and it sits well on it, why not just lay a vocal on it? Well, I guess I'm a singer, so, you know, it makes sense. But the music to me is equally as important as the vocal. Well, they're kind of like lovers, you know.
Awesome. And what about the sound? So sometimes you find a sound and that is the invention of the song to some degree.
Well, the funny thing about this EP is that there's one instrument that I completely pimp out the whole way through the EP.
Right.
Do you know what it might be?
Look,
You've probably
tell me
can't really
what it
pick
is.
up
I
on
can't
it
work it.
because in some of the songs it's more obscured, and I also manipulate it to sound a little bit different.
Okay.
But it's actually like a synth harp.
Okay.
Which gives it that real dreamy, ethereal atmosphere. But I basically warped and pitched the harp up.
Okay.
One day, and it was like making this blippy sound, like. like that's my interpretation of it. It
Yeah,
sounds better
yeah.
than that. But
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
like how Klexus, the new version of Klexus was born, because I was like, wow, this sound is just so alien, and like I just loved that sound. And then that really inspired me to like finish the track.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
the missing piece to the puzzle that just like made the track sound so awesome.
There is a continuity between tracks by using some of the same instruments and sounds.
Yeah, I wanted to limit my sound palette because I do have such a wild imagination, and, you know, I love so many different genres, and I wanted it to kind of create this familiar sonic universe. I wanted to try and stay within a certain sound palette so that it all had a similar vibe. Even though, you know, my producer was kind of like encouraging me to like let go of the harp. But I couldn't, because there was just something so magical about that particular synth harp that I just loved. So, but yeah, I am looking forward to like, you know, creating some new tracks without that instrument just to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that can be an inspiration for a whole project in a way.
I think it can be very helpful. I mean, you've got so much choice today with all the virtual synthesizers and plugins. You can spend weeks just like listening to a pack full of, you know, synth sounds. And I can waste a lot of time in the studio just listening to sounds all day. And I think if you kind of know, all right, I'm only working with like 50 sounds, then
That's still
it's
a
like,
lot. That's still a lot, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at least then, you know, it's like you've got a boundary.
Yeah, yes.
And you know that you're going to like those sounds.
Yeah, it's all beautiful sounding. There's experimental nature to some of these.
Yeah, like some of the sounds are like me dropping rocks in my backyard, or...
Is there any water? Like,
Yeah, there is.
Okay, because
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. There's a lot of watery sounding.
Yeah, so you can achieve that from actually sampling water, which me and Nicholas did at my home, but also just turning the wet reverb up really high on certain things can really give that watery, dreamy kind of effect.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So there's a lot of technology involved. You've been involved in music for a while. I know you've got an artist background as well. Is getting your head around the way technology is changing, is that something you've got to keep up with?
Yeah, I've worked hard. You know, I've been using DAWs, digital audio workstations, for years. They're all pretty much the same. The annoying thing is Apple computers are constantly upgrading, and then like the software goes out of date in the drivers, and so that's more of a head spin than actually the technical
Once you're
side.
in the program, you're happy.
I'm pretty
You're
happy.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty primitive in the way that I edit too. Like, I try to limit the amount of plugins I use because I kind of like that element of surprise when I'm in the studio. So it's like the less I know, the better, because it's like, you know, a kid opening a present on Christmas Day and being like, wow, I've never heard that sound before, because I didn't really know what was going to come out because I'm just pressing buttons. I don't really know. Like, I do know with certain plugins and synthesizers what a certain effect is going to do, but I love those moments where you kind of got a new toy to play with, and then it's just like, holy shit, this is really cool.
Wow. So the tools are there. They're exciting. Within the music, there is something to be said for less is more. And you know, just the layering. It's not too heavy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you think it's not too heavy, because there's 81 tracks in Klexus.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't sound like it. Some of the sounds are so subtle that, like, there's times in that track where there's 8 voices laid on one another. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And that was me like being well behaved and not going too crazy. That's why it takes me so long to finish tracks. Because could you imagine mixing down 81 tracks?
Wow. Well, I mean, it sounds so coherent. I mean, you must lose track.
I do.
What are all these things?
Yeah.
Is there a way to label them and group them? You know, is there ways to sort of collapse them? And I mean, it must be intense.
Yeah, there is. And I wish I had have done that.
Done that earlier.
It was such a nightmare getting all the tracks like bounced down for the remixes, because
because you got to send that to yes.
But
yes,
I got
yes.
there in the end. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get better at like track management and labeling and
Yes, I see.
Save myself a lot of time going forward.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you just get lost. You just, you just get inspired and you're just like, oh, wow. And, you're not really in your right brain and thinking, oh, yeah, I should label that.
no, not at the moment. You're trying to grab this vibe that's happening. Yeah, you're trying to. Yes, yes. Do you sometimes pull an all-nighter? I mean, is it hard not to stay in the studio a long time?
It's terrible. I'm a night owl. For some reason, I can't really create much at all until the sun goes down. That's when my creative juices start bubbling and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood to like turn the speakers up and just go nuts and go on a journey. And I don't know whether it's because everyone else is like sleeping. Yeah, I love writing music at nighttime, and yes, there's been many nights, sleepless nights.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a hard thing to stop doing. Once you start creating, time can fly and you just end up.
Yeah, it's really hard. There's this guy called Mike Monday that addresses this issue with producers, and he's like, you should set a timer for 25 minutes because apparently your brain is really effective in 25-minute chunks of time. But I don't know. I tried doing it for one day and I just couldn't take myself away. But yeah, it's important to have balance though, because I think you can't sustain it for that long.
Yeah, you've got to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty all or nothing. And so if I'm in the mood and I'm in this flow state, it's really hard for me to just like walk away.
And do you have times, when you've got a project on that you will go into the studio every day, or would you, give it a rest for a couple of months here and there, or how do you find?
I love tinkering away at things. I definitely was going into the studio most days the month, like leading up to the finishing date, because I did have a finishing date.
Oh, great.
Which helped.
Yes, great.
Obviously, life gets in the way sometimes.
Sure.
And you're not always in the mood. Sometimes, you're sick. Obviously, like I've been working as a DJ and a VJ for other acts, so I had to like go and do gigs with those people. But if I'm going to do a session, I want to be in the studio for at least 4 hours.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just go and do half an hour.
No, it doesn't do it for you, yeah. And so you've been travelling a bit with these other gigs as well?
Yeah. So that's been really fun. The music industry is a pretty grueling industry, especially for a woman. Quite often I'll rock up to venues and cop nasty vibes from sound dudes that just think that I don't know what I'm talking about. But, as I'm getting older, like I'm holding my space more and, there are some really cool people that you get to meet. But yeah, there's a few people that I'd rather not have to come into contact with. But it's all part of it, and it's the same in any industry, I guess. And I think it is changing, which is really good. There's more females, engineers and producers and DJs, so it's really cool. But yeah, it hasn't been easy.
You travel to Melbourne and Queensland, and people are still going out and still having parties and still having fun in the world.
Yeah,
places.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Good.
I mean,
Good to hear.
think it's like, yeah, Melbourne's great. Obviously, like tourist spots are great. But, it is really tricky for acts that don't have a huge following, that aren't, supported by a label, because you do have to do a lot of the groundwork with promoting and stuff yourself.
Yeah.
And there's so much competition and people don't have that much money to burn at the moment.
No. Because we hear of some festivals where people aren't buying their tickets till the last minute and the festival sort of pulls out because, sort of people aren't really committing to things. People are a bit fickle in terms of, we were talking earlier about, the length of songs. Like the way people listen to music, they don't listen to whole albums. They just shuffle and go in and out of something. If they don't get quick gratification, it's sort of...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, I'm just kind of getting into the world of marketing online because you have to these days, especially if you want to make like contacts overseas. And I saw somewhere that basically people will decide to skip your video after like just 1 second of content. So 1 second,
you've got to grab them.
You have to make sure whatever you're posting kind of looks enticing right from the get-go.
Wow, that's amazing. I was thinking maybe 10 seconds, but geez, that's not long, is it? 1 second to get in there. It says here, you've got background in conceptual art and film school. And so when you were doing the soundscape and sound design, was that back in those days.
Yeah, I collaborated with other sound artists for a lot of my film productions, but I was involved in the process of layering sound effects over doors opening and footprints.
Oh, wow.
Walking through the bush. And a lot of the times you did have to re-record those sounds because dialogue might have been happening at the same time.
Yeah, wow. So you've been doing on this journey for a long time.
It's all connected.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw your work, you had some paintings and things like that. So that's another side. The creative journey, do you see them as just one thing?
I kind of compartmentalize the way I express myself through art and music. The reason why I got into painting is basically I only paint when I'm sad.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I find it hard to sing when I'm really sad because I just start crying.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, like all those paintings that you would have seen at that exhibition I did at Phoenix Centre, they just came out. I never really formally studied painting or anything. I was just feeling really sad and I couldn't sing during that time of my life. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to start painting instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that's interesting. And so whatever is going on, you like to have an outlet.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For a while it was dance as well.
Wow.
Yeah, when I lived in Melbourne, that was really fun and social too. I guess music is more of an lonely, introverted activity. Like I know that
until you perform it, yeah. But in the studio, it's a lot of solo time then, yeah.
Yeah, which I really enjoy too.
Excellent. Would you be inclined that you would have to make a video clip or something that's going to happen for your songs, like at some point?
Yeah, I've got an artistic director. He's based in Melbourne. He was based in LA for many years and he's worked with publishing companies and lots of quite established musicians as a songwriter.
Oh, wow.
So he's got a lot of experience in music marketing and graphic design, and he's been like my sounding board. So quite often I will create something and I'll send it to him and I might send him like 10 ideas. Then he will have a meeting and he'll be like, all right, which one are you going for? And then he'll be like, why? It's like an open-ended discussion, and he always brings me back to like asking me how I feel, how an image makes me feel.
So it's you making the decision still, but he's helping you feel how you feel about...
To help me choose what to go with. He still does actually get involved with some of the art creation. It's not all me, but it's kind of a back and forth process.
Fantastic. So do you find that you're too in the thick of it with this stuff, that you've spent hundreds of hours creating these sounds and you're too intimately connected with it? It's sort of hard to actually do the whole package,
Definitely.
without help.
I could not have done the art visual side of things without Bryce Sedgwick. He's so talented and very intuitive and is really good at guiding me to do what's best for the music and helps to kind of make the visuals represent the message of the song.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why, I just find it hard to be objective with that stuff.
I think it's just sometimes in a way you've got your blinkers on to some degree, just focusing on your baby, which is the music, and to some degree it never hurts to have another pair of eyes to see how it looks. And it sounds like it's still your thing.
Yeah, I'm still involved in the creative process for sure.
And you're still owning it. You're still,
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for coming here to Turn VR, Fluxa, and we hope to see you get some gigs around here. And
yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait to get the live show happening.
Excellent. And is there any particular place where people should go to follow you and things like that?
Yeah, so my socials handle is I_am_Fluxa. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, and then from there you can jump on my link tree and or just Google Fluxa.
Wow.
And I should pop up on Spotify or YouTube.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.